Welcome back to football. Actual football is here. Well, it depends, I guess. Let's fast forward 2 days. I'll tell you if it's real football, just a pre-season friendly. Manchester City are back in action tomorrow in the FA Community Shield. And it's Man United. It's going to be a while. It is tomorrow. Please tell me I got that right because I'm half asleep still today. It is absolutely tomorrow. I couldn't find my headphones. I've been rushing around for ages. Yeah, 3 o'clock tomorrow against Manchester United. A chance for revenge or just another step on the road towards fitness, depending on which way you look at it. It's going to be a really fun game either way. I thought it'd be a good chance to start the season with the opposition previews with my good mate, Motty from Stretford, Paddock. Jay, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I think you summed it up quite nicely. It's a bit of a weird one, this, isn't it? The Community Shield, or the Charity Shield, as I still call it. Because normally it's pretty much completely meaningless, right? I'm going to put that out there now. I'm not just saying this because we're playing you guys, but normally it's pretty meaningless. Like, I refuse to accept that David Moyes won a trophy at Manchester United. I will die on that hill. and also the whole 3 thing from Jose. No, it wasn't 3 trophies. The Community Shield doesn't count. But because it's a Manchester derby, there's an added edge to it. Then it does have a little bit more meaning because I'm sure you feel the same way. No one wants to lose a Manchester derby, whether that's in the Community Shield or at Old Trafford or at the Etihad. So, yeah, it's added a little bit more spice, but this is a friendly, to be honest with you.
Do you not feel? Obviously, you've not been in it as much as I guess City have recently, but you've been there plenty of times in the past, and you have been there a few times, to be fair. But like for me, I felt that because obviously City have been so all dominant recently. I really felt that Liverpool and Arsenal, particularly when they've been up against City, really wanted to win this and to be seen as the first blow, so to speak. And like I remember when City won it on penalties a few years back in the classic sort of throwback kit that we did for one game. And I remember we beat Liverpool on penalties, and the players, you could tell because it'd been a hard-fought game. They were buzzing. And you could tell Arsenal last year when they beat City, they were buzzing as well, you know. Do you feel like because of the rivalries and because of the money in the game, because of the intense focus on City and blah, 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 and the dominant period, there is a little bit more to this game than there used to be? Or is it still, I mean, even if not for you, but for others, is there more to it now? Can it be used as a sort of a first blow? I know obviously United and City's aims maybe are different this season, but in theory.
Yeah, sort of. I think you've used 2 of the examples there, though. Is it Arsenal and Liverpool fans? And I think that's the key there. Is Arsenal and Liverpool fans get giddy if they win a throw-in. and it's like, I saw some absolute nonsense. And I think it might have even been you know, Macca, because was it, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I took a passing interest in it when it was you against the Scousers, but I believe, was it like Haaland missed a couple of chances his first Community Shield.
Yeah.
Núñez scored, and then there was all this nonsense. Is Haaland going to be able to do it in the Premier League? And then I remember, I can't remember if it's you not, someone put a bit of money on Haaland to score 40 goals or something.
Me. It was me.
Yeah, I thought it was you.
2 goals off, mate. And 2 goals off. I would have won.
Tell me he cashed out. Go on.
I would have won $5,000, I think. And he got
off how much?
20 quid.
Jesus
and he would have. Yeah, and basically, I think what happened is he was on like 34 goals with 10 games after something stupid, and he just massively dropped off. And he only got 2 more goals in the final 7 games. I was like, it's ridiculous. And like, I got cashed out for 800 quid in the end, which is not bad, mate. 800 quid, you know, I'll take that. But at one point I was offered $2.5 for a cash out. Annoyingly, that bet obviously is redundant now. Haaland is the machine, and I just knew. I mean, he scored for like 50 that season, but I thought in the Premier League, I bet he could get it. And I was so close. He got
impressive. That, to be fair, but my point I was getting at is there was that narrative after the Community Shield that he ain't going to be able to do it. And I don't get me wrong, I never joined in with it. I thought it was nonsense. But people got carried away with that Community Shield. Yeah. Arsenal fans have done it in the past. I'm old enough to remember when we got battered off Arsenal in '98 in the Community Shield, and we won the treble that year. So I've never put too much weight behind what goes on in the Community Shield. You've not usually got your full strength team. There's usually players who are just getting back. Yeah, players are getting back to fitness. They treat it like I know they all want to win, but they treat it like a bit of a sort of friendly sometimes where they're just trying to get back into full fitness. It never has that full intensity that you'd get from a Premier League or certainly from a big cup game. So, yeah, it's a game I want to win. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I want to lose the Community Shield. I certainly don't want to lose it to Manchester City, but it's not a trophy. It's not that deep. For me, it's a good chance to see where we're at and what probably we need to do in terms of going into the new season.
No, you're right. I mean, it's the fans. There's such a desperate hunger for football. Like you get into it, and you wanna see your team win and all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, it's a derby, but you have to look at the squad's at and the fitness and so on. Like, and the thing is, the better your team is, the more likely your squad's not ready. You know, in general, because obviously City got so many internationals. Like we haven't even got any of the England lads back or Rodri back until next week. They don't know. They just don't. You know, like yeah. So literally, all
have you given him an extra? Have you given him an extra break? Because I think ours.
I personally did. Yeah, I texted him. No. Go for it, lads. Yeah.
I say you know what I mean? Like as Pep and,
like,
and
Pep,
give him
rest Rodri for crying out loud. Yeah, I got. Yeah, no, they've got a longer just because the final, innit? So they're back next week, and we've got. I think like the likes of De Bruyne and all the rest of them, everyone else, like the Portuguese players, De Bruyne and a lot, Doku, and they're all back in action. But yeah, we are missing a few. I don't know if Alvarez is still. I mean, he's going anyway, but. He would still technically be on holiday as well. Yeah, Rodri, Walker, Stones, and Foden next week. So we've still got Diaz, Bernardo, Doku, De Bruyne, and a few others back and whatever. But it's definitely not even close to the full squad. It's going to be very pre-season feel. There'll be some players who are back training now who've not played a pre-season game. De Bruyne and co, for example, that'll probably be playing this because of you need to play them at some point, don't you? That's the point. But it'll be weird, man. It'll be a weird feeling. How has pre-season been for United? Because obviously. Who have you signed so far? Lenny Yoro fella, is it? And then Xerxes, is it?
Yeah, Joshua Xerxes and Lenny Yoro. So the Xerxes one, I think it was a bit of a tap in, 40 million euros, I think, from Bologna, around that figure. I think we've staggered it a little bit. We might end up paying a little bit more than his buyout clause. Lenny Yoro was a bit of a coup because Real Madrid wanted him. And when Real Madrid wants someone, you think, well, that's the end of that then. But United managed to get that deal over the line. The issue is, going back to question about pre-season, he got injured. Did his second game for us. We were playing Arsenal. I was over in the US for the US tour. We were playing Arsenal in LA, and within, I think it was about 10 minutes or something. I can't remember the exact amount of time. It wasn't long. Yeah. He picks up an injury. He's out for 3 months. Also, Rasmus Højlund in that game as well picked up an injury. He's out for 6 weeks. 2 key players for us. I know you might say, well, how can he be key? We've all just bought him. But he's coming into a team where we lost Rafael Varane. Willie Campbell wouldn't have played much anyway, but he's gone out. I think Maguire and Lindelof are also injured. So I think Lenny Yoro would have gone straight into the team, and now he's obviously out for a little while. And Rasmus Højlund, I know he didn't play in the FA Cup final, but he is a vital player for us. He's our main striker, and he's out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a little bit frustrating in pre-season, to be honest with you, and I'm still nervous on the lack of transfers because, unlike you, United do need to strengthen quite a lot, and we've brought in 2 players, which are good players, but I think we're probably, on the whole, because of injuries and everything, weaker going into this season than we were at the back end of last season, and that's a concern.
Yeah, I mean, and the players you signed as well, they are young, aren't they? They're sort of, they're all the kids. In theory, they're still got a lot to go,
18, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Xerxes, what is he, 21, 22 or something like that?
I think he might be a little bit older. I think he's 23, but
okay, I mean, so a little bit. Fair enough.
Let me double check because he's 23. Yeah, so he's still a young player, but certainly with the lad Lenny Yoro. And in pre-season, I've noticed, I've seen a couple of your tweets. Kids get a chance, don't they? Some of these youngsters get a chance, and it's difficult because I don't know if you're like me, Macca, but whenever I see a kid come through the academy and start playing well, I get completely carried away, and I'm like,
"Oh, mate, absolutely." Oscar Bob's going to win the Ballon d'Or.
I am that guy. I'm like, I was like a couple of years ago. It was Charlie Savage and Zidane Iqbal who were the future of our midfield, and then it's like, then it changes it, and then it becomes like, Kobe Mainoo obviously has steps up, but this preseason, Harry Amas in particular has done really well, and because of injuries, I think he might even get a shout tomorrow afternoon. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because we've got no left backs available, and he is a natural left back. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get a few minutes.
How do you feel? I unashamedly like preseason. I know it's an incredibly divisive thing, but I like it because I just like football. Fundamentally, I feel like preseason to me is it's one of like the rawest forms of football you'll see, where like it's like the professionals playing in the park almost, because they know they're there for a laugh. Not really there. They're there for fitness and whatever, but nothing they do really matters. But you get this like you got the big kids who are really good. Then you got the slightly little kids who are trying to impress the big kids. The academy players trying to impress the senior pros. And it reminds you when you're at the park and your mate's little brothers there and they're trying really hard and they're not quite as good enough. You can tell, but one of them is pretty good and they beat you every now and then, they embarrass you. And that's what it reminds me of when you see like Oscar Bob or whatever, or not him, maybe like the younger lads. Like we have got like Nico O'Reilly who's playing in midfield and he was up against Chelsea's 200 billion midfield and he was the better player. And he was just 18. To me, I love those little narratives from preseason. I find them fun, and I know the games are stupid o'clock usually and all that kind of stuff, and not everyone gets to watch it. But I do think there's stuff you can take from preseason. Not everything, and it can all be thrown in the bin quickly. But yeah, I don't know. Like, do you find any value from it at all, or personally, or do you watch the games even? Some people don't.
I'm with you. I love preseason, and because of the job I've got, I've been fortunate enough to cover the last 3 preseason tours. So I've been to Thailand, Australia, I've been to the US twice.
Oh, did you go as well?
Yeah, I've been to all those
preseasons.
I went to the recent one, so I get to meet United fans from over those different parts of the world, which is always I love that. I love chatting to them and seeing what it's about for them. We get a little bit more access as well in terms of the mix zone and press conferences and stuff as a YouTube channel, which you don't usually get in the Premier League, which is always good. And we've even had a chance a couple of times as well to spend some time with players. Like, it was one day where Zidane, I mentioned him earlier, he had a day off and we spent a bit of time with him, which is good. But in terms of the football side of things, I like it. I like watching youngsters. I like seeing what they're about. And I know you can't say, right, he's had a great game in a friendly against Real Betis. He's going to be a future Manchester United star. But you can get you can get an assessment of how they handle representing your club, how they handle the pressure that comes with, even if it's a friendly, just being a Manchester United player, having that sort of expectation on you and that attention on you, I should say. So I do like preseason. I do like the fact you get some fringe players, you get to see them, you get to see some of the youngsters, you get to meet like the fans from overseas as well, and it's just a bit of a spectacle, isn't it? And the whole sort of changing your entire team at half time and things like that. It's a bit of a novelty, but sometimes it can be
5 minutes trying to work out who's on the pitch.
Yeah,
I was doing watch longs. I was doing watch longs and they're like, right, guys, we're going to spend 5 minutes here working out who's that. And like from a distance, the camera angles, man. One was fucking, it was in orbit on the camera angles, ridiculous. And I was there just like, I don't know who that is. I have absolutely no idea. We're like, when you play FIFA, it's a wide view and you can't see anyone. And it's just some young lad with big hair. I'm like, I have no idea. That could be anyone. Actually, anyone.
I've had that. We've had that a few times when it's been pre-season. Like you say, the watch along or just watching a game, and I'll be like, I'm watching it. And I'm going, hang on a minute. Who's that? What's going on here? And I'm blind, right? My eyesight is shocking. So we was in like some of these games because we're in the press bit and like looking on and down onto the pitch. There's a bit of distance, to be honest with you. And I'm clueless. I was like, I swear, I don't even recognize half these players. So it's always a good laugh. But the main thing you want from preseason, well, I want anyway, is players to get match fit and to stay fit. And that's where United have fallen short again because we've had a couple of injuries.
That's United in a nutshell, of injuries constantly.
Yeah.
No, preseason, I swear, a couple of times where I nearly said that like, I've not seen McAtee this game. Where's he gone this half? Like, he's literally off, and like, it's very good. You don't even notice, do you? But I enjoy it as well, man. I think it's fun, and I do actually think you do see the ones who are slightly better because and you can tell the ones who got a bit more experience. And for me, for example, I just mentioned James McAtee. He's a young lad who's been at City for ages, really high rated. Went on loan for Sheffield United a couple of seasons. He came back, and you can just tell he's better for it. You can see it. You can see he's physically more mature and all that kind of stuff. And I don't feel like he would be in the squad now. He's going to be according to Guardiola if he hadn't had a good preseason and hadn't had a chance to train with the manager. So I think there is a lot of value in it. Rico Lewis, obviously, you'll be familiar with him. Everyone is now. He apparently only got his breakthrough because he was in the squad pre-season because he had the numbers. And Pep was like, "Oh, he's good, this kid. Actually, he can stay with us," and he did. So I think there is value to it. And I don't blame anyone who doesn't want to pay attention.
Do you ever have that player, Matt, where you have a player who's like, we used to have it with Andres Pereira. We used to call him the pre-season Perlo because he was amazing in pre-season, and then like when the season starts, you're a bit like, is this the same player? I don't know if you've got players like that, but yeah, sometimes you have that player. Yeah, there's the players that's in pre-season. You think he's got to start him, like he's got to be in the team coming Thursday in the Premier League, and then sometimes he's just not to it. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird
young lad called Samadozi who scored every single game last year, the young winger. And he's still a good player, don't get me wrong, but ultimately I was like, this guy's going to be good, a proper skillful winger. And then now he's a semi-squad member for Southampton, but that's sort of the level, like you realise like he's still a decent player, but it's like you realise there's something about preseason that doesn't always translate to the real world, does it? It's just what it is. But it's good fun, man. And we've got like a lad who spawns every preseason. Like he's always injured for the season. I feel sorry for him. but he's just there every preseason squad called Ben Knight, and like he's not played a first team football for like 3 years for anyone. And I feel very sorry for him, but he's just feels like he just has to be there. But anyway, so how are you feeling ahead of the season then? Because obviously the winds of change have been sweeping through Old Trafford quite dramatically. You've got your City boardroom in place now. You've done your little mirror image thing. Let's be honest. You've got Omar, who not sure he'll reply to me on Twitter anymore. He used to occasionally, but don't know if he's. He followed me on Twitter. I messaged him a couple of times ages ago. I think I saw him a couple of times at academy games and did the whole nod because I work with City every now and then. But you've got him in. You've obviously got Ashworth, and you've got. I saw those graphics of those kids getting excited about your new structure on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, lining up like a team. But that stuff, it's weird how football's changed that way. That we all care, but it does matter to an extent, And like, what's the mentality of the fan base going in? Obviously, you haven't had the big summer that you'd want in signings yet. You have some good players, but it's been. I would say a reasonably cautious window so far, and it's been more behind the scenes. That's what it feels like from the outside, anyway.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in terms of transfers, we've not done much. We've brought in 2 players that I mentioned earlier, and we're struggling to move a lot of players on, and that's part of the sort of aftermath of the last regime when you've got players who are on huge contracts and other teams don't want to pay them that money. I think that's been a bit of a sticking point for some of the players we've tried to move on. But in terms of the structure, you're right. You mentioned there, Dan Ashworth's come in. Jason Wilcox obviously got a connection to City as well as come in. Elmer Barada. And what we saw on pre-season was there's a bit more connection between the sort of hierarchy and the squad and the coaching staff and the players than we've seen in the past. In the past, it's just been Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold or whatever, been a bit aloof. But when we were there pre-season, went to a couple of training sessions, was there in the mix zone, and you see these guys. These guys are very sort of, let's say approachable. You can approach them if you want, but they're there with the squad, and you feel like now United have sort of got our house in order. And I've said this a lot of the times. I said it on your podcast before, and I've said it about Manchester City going back to 2008 when you came into money. Like, you can moan and go on about City all you want about the money they've got, and believe me, I have done in the past, but the structure's been bang on, and you've got the right people in the right places. And you look at your transfers, how many times have you got transfers wrong going back to before Pep even? Not very often. So we need something like that. And I think for me now as a United fan, I've just got to be a little bit more patient. And I know fans don't like being patient, but we're not going to bring in Jason Wilcox, Dan Ashworth, and win the title next year. That's not gonna happen. What we can do though is start acting like a proper football club, getting the right decisions made, getting longer term sort of signings in, and then just slowly building up. When I say slowly, I don't mean like 10 years. I think we can start challenging in the next couple of years, but getting to that place where we should be. So yeah, it is a bit of a process, but I'm glad of the people we've got coming in. There seems to be a little bit more cohesion between the administrators, if you will, or the administration sort of side of things. I shouldn't say administrators, that means something else. The administration side of things and the football side of things, where they're sort of more joined up. And it's good to see. I just wish we'd made more signings, because that's the big sticking point for me as a football fan. I look at the squad and we're still a bit threadbare.
Is there any more irons in the fire on that front? Is it anyone likely to come in before the end of the window?
Yeah. The trouble is all the noises that we're hearing are that United need to sell to buy because of profit and sustainability rules. We haven't all got an 82 million quid striker we can sell. So we need to sell someone like a Scott McTominay and or a Aaron Wan-Bissaka or a Casemiro or a Jadon Sancho. And the offers are either not coming in, or the offers that are coming in are below what Manchester United want. So we're stuck at a minute, and it's gone from, it looks like we're about to get Manuel Ugarte and Matthijs de Ligt, to we might not be getting either of them. We might be getting the latest one. Yeah, I mean, it's all gone a bit quiet, to be honest with you. It really has. So hopefully United can do a bit more business, because we need to. We need at least another defender and a midfielder. Otherwise, I think we're going to struggle this season, I do.
How do you feel about Ten Hag being? It felt like, and it's probably not fair, but the world felt like he got the extension because obviously you beat us in the FA Cup final, and like it felt like you sort of can't get rid of him. Now the dust has settled, does that feel like a fair presumption? Still, are the fans behind him? Has everyone calmed a little bit? And obviously he's got some credit in the bank after that victory. Where's everyone at with Ten Hag, and where are you at personally?
I think in the first part of the question, where's everyone at? I think that win against City got the majority of fans behind him. I think it was split 50-50. maybe even 60-40. From what I see, I can't speak for every United fan, obviously, but from what I see on the channel, what I see chatting to my mates in group chats or being at the games, people were beginning to get fed up. You're eighth in the Premier League, not good enough. We had so many bad defeats, Bournemouth, Fulham, West Ham. Bournemouth, Fulham, Palace, Brighton. I mean, these are just at Old Trafford as well. So, without going into the results against you and all the rest of it. So there was a lot of fans who just said, look, this isn't happening, this isn't working. Yes, he's had a good first season, but this second season's been a disaster. I was always of the opinion that he deserved another season. I just said that after his first season, after what he'd done at Ajax, the amount of injuries he's had, I thought there was enough there to just stick with him. And also this managerial merry-go-round we're on, I just don't think it works. And I certainly didn't change my mind after the FA Cup final. This was before the Cup final. And it wasn't like I left Wembley going, well, you need to get rid of him. And I think that, like I said, that a lot of fans got on board with it because of that game. And it wasn't just winning the FA Cup final, which obviously is great. But it's when you sort of look at, okay, he's back-to-back trophies now, 2 seasons, 2 trophies. First manager to do that over 2 seasons since Fergie. Plus the nature of that game, he got his tactics right, he got it right, and he shows that he can get it right. He can, he's not a manager who's completely out of his depth. He's a manager that's had a poor season and injuries have played a part, but he is capable of getting results. And we saw that in his first season as well, especially at Old Trafford. Our record at Old Trafford was phenomenal. We beat the likes of City, we beat Arsenal, we beat Barcelona, we beat all the big teams. So there's a manager there, and I think with the right structure in place and maybe reining him in a bit, so we don't just keep going and buying the likes of, who we saw in the Arriva Division, overspending on Anthony. I know we've been linked with the Litz, but I think that if you can get a structure in place where you can help him a bit more with transfers and sort of scout transfers for him a little bit better, then it can work. So I'm glad he's been given a chance, but he's on borrowed time because he finished 8th.
Yeah.
Ineos didn't bring him in, let's not forget. He's not their guy. They inherited him, and he kind of got a bit of a reprieve. I think you're right to say that FA Cup final probably kept him in his job, because I think had he lost that, I think Ineos would have pulled the plug. I do. So I think that probably pushed him over the line. But that can happen with managers. I'm old enough to remember Fergie was under pressure at one point, and he got a result in the FA Cup that kept him in a job. You can have that one game where, if it goes one way or the other, can be a catalyst for you to do something special, or could cost you
Perhaps first season wasn't special.
Yeah, I remember the Everton game you lost 4-0. I remember
Leicester away when we got battered as well.
Yeah,
and I remember he's not going to do it over here. He can't train tackles and all that kind of stuff, whatever it was. And Pep was like, what's tackles? I don't train tackle. And I remember I think we finished 3rd that season or something. And it just wasn't, he needed to rebuild the squad and whatever. But, someone else could have panicked there, and dropped to Jane. Obviously, he was Guardiola, so you don't. But yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, I do agree with Michael in the chat. You said, a bad run of form, 4 or 5 losses, and he's not their man. And I think the axe would be close to swinging. I actually think he would do. How long was 100%, by the way? Was it 2 years?
It was a weird one. No, it's a year, because it wasn't like they gave him a new deal. It was basically his contract runs out at the end of this season, and he's got another season on top of that. So yeah, it was just basically the option was taken to give him the extra year. So yeah, it wasn't like they fully backed him. Here's a new contract, sign that. It was like they took up the further option, which they didn't have to. They could have just said, right, you can have until the end of next season or the end of this season as it is now. But I think that would have been a disaster, because that just sends a message out that we don't really want this guy at all. We're just stuck with him. And it sends that message to the player. That's the last thing you need. So, yeah, he's definitely... listen, a bad run of 4 or 5 losses and he's gone. Yes. But also, pretty much any manager at United's had a bad run of 4 or 5 losses and they've gone. Ollie had that and was gone. And he was a very popular man at the club, especially with the fans. So... yeah, I don't think Erik ten Hag can afford to just blame injuries this season. He has to do better next season, or this season, sorry, especially in the Premier League, because week in, week out, United were woeful last season.
Yeah, and to be fair, someone else said as well, you did have a lot of injuries, to be fair. You just do. I mean, I feel like last season was the first year where it was very hard to judge a lot of teams, because I remember at one point, obviously, Ange was very popular in Spurs, and I remember, Brighton's probably a better comparison. Everyone's like, De Zerbi's lost it now. And I remember looking at the injury list, it was like the entire first 11 was out. And he might have lost it anyway, but what do you do when your entire first 11 is out? And it felt like at the start of the season when everyone's going crazy with 110-minute games or whatever, and all the players weren't rested. It was affecting teams' form. So it'd be interesting to see. I don't think we'll have 8 minutes of injury time this season very often. I think it's calmed down a little bit already. So, but the games are so long and the players have done so much. I would not be surprised if we do see a lot of injuries, and it is affecting teams. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Like for United, what's the reasonable expectation? Is it a Champions League chase again for United this year?
Yeah, I think if we can get into the Champions League, I'll be happy. I think whether that's by the Europa, winning the Europa, or by finishing the top 4. The difficulty you've got now is, and I don't want to be negative, especially not on a City channel, but I have to be honest. I do feel like I'd rather come here and say,
don't worry,
he's coming.
Yeah, mate, you can be very popular with people watching right now if you wanted to.
Yeah, but I have to be honest. And I feel like, for me, I don't think there's any conceivable way City or Arsenal drop out of that top 4. It's just, I just cannot see it. So we're going for 2 places, basically. It's 3rd and 4th that are available. They're up for grabs. And you've got you've got Liverpool, you've got Spurs, you've got Villa, you've got Newcastle, you've got Chelsea, and us all going for those 2 spots. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. But I expect United to be challenging for that, at the very least. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough, but I think we can get top 4. Or if not, then maybe winning the Europa League. I know it's not the easiest thing to win a competition, but we've got a decent record in cup competitions under Ten Hag, so it can happen. But I just feel like we have to get Champions League football. That's got to be the next step in this process with Ineos to get us Champions League football again.
I mean, I know you finished 8th, which is great. I'm going to enjoy saying that out loud, but it was 8 points off Aston Villa. You would hope for an improvement for this season. And look, 68 points to get 4th last season is very doable. If United have a decent season and if the Højlund and so on clicks, obviously, naturally, I hope that never happens and you have an absolute stinker again because it'll be hilarious. But I do feel. For me as a City fan, it doesn't rate Ten Hag. The best thing could be like a close run, 5th and 6th, something like that, and get close. Where I don't even know you'd go for, if they did swing the axe. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, how did you feel about the Southgate?
I think if he goes, Ruud van Nistelrooy will take over. 100%, 100%. Because don't forget, Ruud van Nistelrooy has got a good record at PSV. He's not just coming here because he's a former United striker. He's got a decent record as a manager. He's absolutely adored by the fans. Just a phenomenal player for Manchester United. He seems to have a very good rapport. From what we saw him in preseason. I'm not going to say I saw him in preseason. I know him. I don't. But from what we gather at training, he's got a good relationship with the players, with the other coaches, with the hierarchy, with the press. He seems to get on with everyone. So listen, I want Ten Hag to succeed, and I think he will. But if he doesn't, if I'm wrong, and he does go, I think the club will just promote Ruud. And I know Ruud, I think if Ruud van Nistelrooy was asked it, he's going to say, no, obviously I'm working on it tonight. I don't want that, which you'd expect any coach to say. But that, for me, feels like a better and more organic option than bringing in another manager. And also, the other managers, I mean, last season we were linked with everyone and every name was underwhelming for one reason or another. De Zerbi, you mentioned there, he fell off a cliff. We were linked with Thomas Tuchel, done well at Chelsea, did relatively well at PSG and at Dortmund. But I thought his first season at Bayern weren't great, winning the league on the last day, basically because Dortmund threw it away. And then his second season, to finish 3rd, he's a bit of a stinker. And then who else is? Gareth Southgate was another one. Do me a favour, come on, let's be honest. So there's no name that I went like, I mean, you'd be loving that, wouldn't you? As a City fan, seeing Gareth Southgate managing Manchester United, I don't blame you. I mean, that'd be an absolute shambles. So I don't think there's a name out there. I mean, one might emerge during the season where you go, actually, there's somewhere. I mean, I know it wouldn't happen because he's an ex-Liverpool player as well. But let's say Xabi Alonso was available or whatever. You went, actually, you could get someone who's of real caliber, or someone who's exciting, up and coming manager. I'm just underwhelmed by a lot of the names that are mentioned, and I think if Ten Hag does get the sack, I expect the clubs just to promote from within, and I think that promotion will probably be Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Interesting comment from Michael Taylor. So, what about Carrick? Obviously United legend Carrick plays good football, and seems to be a good manager. Would you be tempted by that?
I would. I love Michael Carrick. I think he was a bit up and down on it in the end at Middlesbrough, and obviously Michael Taylor can fill us in. But I think there was a lot of criticism from at one point in the season from Middlesbrough fans. I think they were struggling Middlesbrough under Michael Carrick, and then I think they had a bit of a rally and got their act together. I can't remember where they finished, forgive me. But I thought Michael Carrick, he's a good coach, a good manager. superb player, obviously knows the club, and even his little stint as caretaker was excellent. He got us into the Champions League knockout stages, and he got us into the top 4. His last game, I think, was beating Arsenal. He beat Arsenal at Old Trafford. He beat, Arteta's Arsenal at Old Trafford. And then we handed over the reins to Ralph Ragnick, who was pretty much a disaster. So I think Michael Carrick would be a shout. There's going to be loads of names bandied about, but I'm hoping that Ten Hag can sort of silence that conversation by, getting some results and not putting himself under any pressure.
It'd be interesting with Carrick, isn't it? Ball playing number 6, good as a manager. Have we seen that before? Pep, Arteta.
It's a popular thing, isn't it? Alonso, you're right. It does seem to work, doesn't it?
They understand the game, don't they?
The reading of the game, that's what a few people have said. And there is a bit of truth to that if you look at the evidence in terms of which managers have gone on to achieve stuff.
So ahead of tomorrow, obviously, it's going to be a weird game of football. What kind of a lineup can City fans expect from United tomorrow, do you reckon? Is it because obviously going to be changes? It's going to pre-season. It's going to be injuries and players not available. But what are you expecting tomorrow?
I don't think the United team will be that different, personally, from the team that you faced in the FA Cup final. I think there will be changes, but I don't think it'll be.
Is everyone back? Yeah.
A different. Well, they're not. There's some slight changes. I mean, Amrabat, for example, isn't even back at the club. I don't know what's happening with him. I don't know if he's going to come back or not. He seems to be in limbo. No, there was he was on the squad list, but that was a mistake. Then you've got obviously. Wow. I think Shaw. I don't think Shaw wasn't fit for the FA Cup final. Yeah, so I think the back 4 because of the fact Varane's left as well. Sorry, that's what I was trying to remember. There was someone else who's left. So I think the back 4 will change slightly. I think you might have Ari Amas might come in, or you might have Delo and Aaron Wan-Bissaka as your fullbacks with Johnny Evans and Martinez as your defenders, or your centre-backs, sorry. Yeah. I think the midfield, Mainu, McTominay maybe coming in, Bruno. I wouldn't be surprised if he did what he did last time. And sorry, I said Bruno, but he might even bring in Casemiro and play Bruno as a false 9 like he did in the FA Cup final. So I wouldn't be surprised if the United team was sort of very similar setup to what you saw when we played in the FA Cup final, where we have sort of Bruno as a false 9, and instead of having Amrabat, you have Casemiro, McTominay comes back in, Rashford and Garnacho out wide, Mainu obviously in there, and just a few changes in defence because of players who've left or are injured.
Yeah, but I mean, I trust you on that. It's a reasonably strong team, to be fair. It's not like there's a whole bunch of kids involved there. Do you dare predict a score tomorrow, or can you be bothered? I mean, it's hard, isn't it, to be fair, because I don't even know. I wouldn't be surprised if City lost, because it's just it feels so weird. And our team's going to be. I mean, our team tomorrow, it could be that we're playing McAtee and Nico O'Reilly and Oscar Bob. It could be playing them because they played every preseason game and started. Where we were playing midfield of Kovacic, Nico O'Reilly, McAtee, and you've only probably heard of one of them. So it's one of those things where
I know McAtee is a highly rated lad, isn't he?
It's fair. He's actually been out last season. And then we've got if we're playing Joshua Wilson Esbrand at left back, Rico Lewis is playing right back because no Kyle Walker. Obviously Edison, but then I think Ruben Diaz is back, so I reckon he'll play, but it'll be his first game. It's going to be weird because we haven't got any, we haven't got a lot of players who are fit.
Is the new kid going to be available that you bought in? Is it Savio?
Savinho.
Savinho, sorry.
Well, he started training this week actually, so I think he's going to be. He's not played yet, but he'll be. I don't know if Pep said anything actually, but I think he might be. If anyone in the chat knows, let me know. But I've got a feeling he'll be involved in the squad. I think our bench is going to look really strong, but none of them will be fit because I reckon he won't play him more. But then you sort of got to play him, haven't you, to get him ready for the weekend after? So I feel like you'll probably, I don't know. It could be quite a strong side, but Savinho should be available, but I don't know if he'll start. In pre-season, Grealish started on the left, Oscar Bob started on the right, and Haaland was available for all of them because obviously none of them went to Euros. And they all played really well, actually. So that'll be the front three because they deserve it. So it'll be those three up front. And probably, I think McAtee will get started, actually, because he's played Premier League football and he deserves it. Well, probably won't be Nico O'Reilly because he's only a kid. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kovacic or someone else, but we'll see. But either way. You know what? We'll leave the prediction stuff, mate. It will leave prediction stuff.
I mean, I don't care. I give predictions all the time, and none of them are ever accurate.
All right.
To be honest with you, I think the only one. You know what? The only one, right, where the one where it's accurate was before the FA Cup final when I said United can win, and that was for the BBC.
I think I chatted to you about it, didn't it?
I got hammered. Was you part of the FA Cup final? I think. Well, I did something for the B, but it was about sort of the anniversary of '99, and then they did an FA Cup final thing.
Can't remember.
And all the United fans were saying, "We'll lose, we'll lose, we'll lose." And then you got to me, and I said, "We'll win." And I was getting pelters all day because they're going United and City fans going, "This guy's lost the plot." And then obviously, even a broken clock's right twice a day, but. I'll go with United. When I'll go, just like the FA Cup final, I'll go 2-1, and you can clip this up and ram it down my throat when you do us.
You can't really lose because you're like, yeah, well, we lost, so what? Who gives a shit? And then if you do, you can clip up and be like, I'm a genius, Jay, as always, thank you so much, mate. I've enjoyed it.
Always a pleasure.
And I'll sure chat to you again through the season.
Definitely.
Jay, catch you later, guys. Check out Stretford Paddock, of course, for United content. If you're that way inclined, go over there. They've got great stuff over there. And thank you for watching this first preview of the season. My personal match preview will probably be live later on the channel as well. Of course, you can check out the kit review launch thing I did yesterday from the event. And have a wonderful day. In a bit, guys. Bye-bye. Like, subscribe in a bit.